This is Gemara in Baba Kama, Daf Nun Aleph, and all the learning for this month. The month of Davis has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Daf as a Schos Alias Neshama for Aryeh ben Ya'akov V'siyata D'Shemaya. The learning of the entire Chabura should bring Aryeh ben Ya'akov to a higher place in Gan Eden Shalmaila and closer to the Kisei HaKavod. We pick it up on Nun Amid Beis. We are 3 lines into the wide lines at the 2 dots in which the Gemara quotes a Mishnah. Tanan, Haya pchusin me'asara tvachim v'nafa l'teichai shar oichamar umeis potter v'imhizik boy chayiv. So says the Mishnah, we have a pit that is not 10 tvachim deep. A shar chamar falls into it. If the shar the chamar dies, potter. The one who dug such a pit is potter. But v'im huzak b'hen, if the animal is damaged by falling into it, then chayiv, then the owner is liable. Nafal l'teicha shar chamar umeis potter my taima. Ask the Gemara, why is it that the digger is potter? La misham de lesbe chavata. Is it not because since it was pchusin me'asara tvachim, therefore it's not considered that there has the appropriate impact to kill someone, and therefore the owner that created such a damager is not liable? Answers the Gemara, no, that is not the reason. Lie. Misham de lesbe havala. The reason is because it doesn't have the appropriate airspace, and therefore one is potter if someone dies in such a situation. And by saying lesbe havala, it ensures that we're not asking Rav or Shmuel. Yachi asked the Gemara in the last medium-sized line, so why are you obligated for damages to the person? Amri ein havala lemisa, but v'ish havala lenizak. In different levels of havala necessary, says the Gemara. It's true, there's no havala to kill, but there is havala in a 10 tefach pit for nizakin. Continues the Gemara with this story. Anu Tura, there was an ox, the novel Aritel Dalai, fell into an irrigation ditch, and Rashi says this is 6 tefachim deep. The Dalai, Shachte Mare, the owner shechted the animal. Entire favor of Nachman. Rav Nachman said that the animal is a treifa due to the fall that it incurred. Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman, Ishak Amar Daitura, Kava de Kimcha, if the owner had taken a kava of Kemach, Valzoltana Be Midrash, and went to the base of Medrash, and Me'es La'es, Valzoltana Be Midrash Shasa, Me'es La'es Kshera, and then waited and see, did the animal live for 24 hours? Then we would assume it's a kshera and it's not a treifa. But loy afsidei tura the shava kama kabi, he wouldn't lose his ox that is worth many kabim. Basically, Rav Nachman saying that this person's quickness cost him the ox. Because he went and he shechted it right away, Rav Nachman was forced to be machmir and paskin that the ox is a treifa. Says the Gemara, what do we see from here? 2 lines to the bottom. We see that there is damages even less than a 10 tefachim. Eisvei Rav Nachman, so Rav asked Rav Nachman on that detail. The Mishnah we just quoted Umeis Potter, my time allowed me the less bechavata. Kashan Rav Nachman. As we turn over to Nun Aleph Amid Beis, says the Gemara, Loi, that is not what is going on in the Mishnah that we quoted, but rather Misham de lesbe havala. Not that there's no chavata, there is no havala. Ihachi asked the Gemara in the top line of Nun Aleph Amid Aleph, Hozak boy chayiv. What do you mean? Lesbe havala? How can you be chayiv for damages? Amar le ein havala misa v'shavla nizakin, like we just answered. Eisvei continues the Gemara with a kasha on Rav Nachman on Aleph and Aleph, 3 lines down. Beis askila hayagavaya shtei kaimais. The area they did skila was 2 stories tall. Tani alav a kaimish shalai. Harekan Shleisha, who's 2 kaimas tall, plus the person's own height, comes out that he's being thrown from a height of 3 stories. Ask the Gemara 1 second. If you're telling me that there is chavata less than 10 tvachim, lamali kulei high, why do we have to put so and so high up to do skila? We should even be able to stand him on something lower. Says the Gemara 1 second. Whichever way you look at it, even according to you, never asara. Once it's 10 tvachim, then it has a din of chavata to this bar. So 10 tvachim should be enough. So why do you not say that? Ella, what must the reason be? Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman Amar Rabba Avu Amar Kra, says the Torah of Yehavta l'reach l'kamaycha. From here we darshan bara loy misa yafeh. That even though Bezdin is obligated to kill the person, they should do it in the most non-painful manner, which is the reason why they throw the person such a high cliff so that he dies on impact. Ask the Gemara Yachi if this is true. Nagmet Tvei. The whole reason is you want it to be a Misa Yafes. Says the Gemara, it should be even higher. Answers the Gemara, Mishum de Minavel, because if it's too high, then the person becomes, a Minavel becomes disgusting when falling from such heights. Continues the Gemara, another kasha on Rav Nachman. Eisvei, quoting a brayso, ki yipol hanoifel mimenu. Says the pasuk, if one falls from it, mimenu, from it, v'loi b'toichai, and not into it. Keitzad. Hi, Sir Shesram gavayim mimenu atzvar tvachim. Shesram is 10 tvachim tall. V'naval mitoicha l'toichai pater. So if he falls from the Rosh Hashanah into this area with a roof, pater, the one in the house is a pater. He doesn't need to put up a maika. Amuka mimenu asara tfachim. But if the house is deeper 10 tfachim, v'naval mitoicha l'toicha, then chayiv. Says the Gemara 1 second, according to Rav Nachman, Lama li asara, why is this whole din about 10 tfachim? Amar le, Rav Nachman defends himself and says, Shaini bayis t'chol pachas me asara? Lav bayisu, less than 10 tfachim doesn't have a din of a bayis. That's why Yachi Ashenami, they have a ma'avroy asara. So it should be the same thing over here, that from the outside it should have to be 10 tfachim. Talmine tikra mazira, subtract the beams and the plaster from the roof. Mikavai lo yave asara. And we find that the inside is not 10 tfachim. So Lamaisa asked the Gemara, so why, if the whole din of bayis is only if it's 10 tfachim, so how can you tell me that this is a din of a bayis? Answers the Gemara on the first white line, Amar Lei, Kigain, what are we discussing? For example, Dachak Amiga Voi. Answers the Gemara, I skipped, Amar Lei, Kigain, Dachak Amiga Voi. No, I didn't skip, here it is. The case is where he did indeed dig out the ground inside to a depth that matches the thickness of the roof. So they both have 10 tefachim, and that's why he's going to be chayv. You could have it one and not the other. Says the Gemara, the case has to be where he dug out more than the thickness of the roof. Concludes this part of the Gemara. Eloheinu Taimer Rav Nachman. This is the reasoning for Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman Savar Mikresa de Tura La'ara Kamehave. From the axe's stomach, its abdomen, until the land that it falls into this pit. How much is it? Arba. Arisa de Delay. Arisa de Delay Kama Have. How deep is this irrigational canal that it's falling into? Shita 6. Ay ha asara. So we have 6 plus 4, the arba that we just said, comes out that we have 10 tefachim. When he gets hit from 10, then it's called getting hit. Our Mishnah seemed to indicate that it has to be a full 10 tefachim. Now we're saying it's not true. Now we're saying it could be 4 tefachim combined with the 6. Says the Gemara B'shita Nami Sagam Rastisa didn't get the bar. So 6 should be enough. Answers the Gemara Amri. They explained Mastisa the Gandar Lebar. We're rolling into the pit, but it shows if the animal is standing up and falls into the pit, even if it's only 6 tefachim deep plus the 4 tefachim, he will be liable. We continue with the Mishnah about 7 lines into the white lines, continuing the dinam bar. Bar shal shnei shotfim, says the Mishnah, avar alav rishain v'lo kisau. V'asheni v'lo kisau, if they both pass by the pit and neither covered it, Allah is Hasheni, the second one who walked by is chayiv. Says the Gemara Amri, they said, Bar shal shnei shotfim mechem mishkachlo. How do we have such a case? You're like Rav Akiva. This goes back to the daf from yesterday. The machlek is whether bar has to be ownerless mafker. If you're like Rav Akiva, then a bar bear shusay chayiv. A bar one's owner shows one is liable for. Then this is simple. Mishkachas la b'chatzir shal shneim or bar shal shneim. V'ifkir rishos of lo ifkir and bar, and they are mafker. They are shos not the bar. That's the case. Rav Akiva says you are chayiv. Ella says the Gemara Yisrael and Bar B'Shusay Pot or Eichem Mishkas of the Chayiv of Rishus Rabim. Rishus Rabim. Bar shall stay shut in Eichas Mishkachas La. Eidish Avish Leichtar Vayu. If they both may one Sheilam Leizel Karilan go take first a bar Vasal Karlu. Ein Shliach Lidvar Aveira. What do you mean? You can't say that the person that dug the pit is liable. No, he should Lidvar Aveira. So he can't, we can't be liable on the action that he did because he can't be a shliach for us. If each one only dug 5 tvachim, the second one's actions are nistalik. The first one's actions, are nistalik when the second one digs. Rebbe says according to Rebbe, we could understand that what's going on over here is how can we explain the case? Explains the Gemara. Amar Rav Yochanan comes along Rav Yochanan, and Rav Yochanan answers. The case is that they both dug out 9 tefachim simultaneously, and then they both did the final digging together. That's going to be the case that you have a bar of shtei shotfim that it has have an obligation due to the simple fact that it's indeed a bar of 2 owners. Continues the Gemara, what is this machlaikas between Rebbe and the Rabbanan? Says the Gemara, my Rebbe umay Rabbanan. We're about 20 lines to the end of Nun Aleph Amud Aleph. The first word on the line being umay Rabbanan. Titania, we learned in our brayso. One person dug a pit 10 tvachim, and someone else came in to be mashlim it to 10. What's the halacha? Says the brayso. Acharon chayiv. The latter one to dig is chayiv. Rabbi Amar no. Acharon the misa of achar shneim lamaisa. They both contributed to nizak, to damages. So says the Gemara, what is this shita of the Rabbanan? My taima. Dear Rabbanan, where do the Rabbanan get this din from? The Amar Cross says the pasuk yiftach ki yechre el abasicha chayev al kriya lo kol shkein. So what's the pasuk detailing? Not only for digging but also for opening. Ella, you know what it teaches? Lavi kaira achar kaira shasilek ma'iseri shasacham learn. We learn from the pasuk that if one digs after someone else dug, the first one's actions are considered null and no longer. For Rebbe Amar Lacha, no, Hanu mitzach srichi. Tarmina v'Rabbanan nami mitzach srichi. They each need the pasuk. Ella, Hainu time of the Rebbe. Where does Rebbe get his din from? Amar Krag Yechish Bar v'Lo Yishneim. You're only liable if you did it yourself and not with someone else. Ask the Gemara 1 second. For Rebbe Ahumi Baili Kicha Ishbar V'lo Sharbar. We need the boss teach us it's only when a man digs a pit and not a shar. For Rabbanan Trey Ish Abar Ksivi. They say this two psukim. For Rebbe, no. I because of I because of I. My del Chuva Basra. How do you know it comes to say the latter one is Chayiv Dam Lechuva Kama? Lo Sagadaytuch. Why not? Amar Krav Amesi Heloi. Hahod Kavin Misa V'hai. Excuse me. Misa. That's the one that the animal goes to. Ask him 1 second. We need this for a different pasuk. Damar Rava Rava Toh. Char Psuli Amikdash. Shem Shenafal Bar. Potter. Why Shem Mesi Alavi Misha Misha Loi? Amri Valav Memila Shas Minad Huba Avin Misa Skina Memila. We can learn our din, and that is going to be the final limud, says the Gemara. Therefore, we're able to learn out both dinim from the pasuk, both the din of Rava. We also could learn out that he who made the pit into a killer is going to be the one that's going to be chayiv. So we continue with the braysa. 3 lines to the bottom of Nun Aleph Amud Aleph as we move on to the second to last line. Tanu Rabbanan Echad HaChayfer Bar Asara Ba'achar V'Shlim L'Chaf. Whether one dug 9 and someone else came, whether one dug 10 and someone else came and finished it at 20. Now one made the pit 30 tfachim. Kulan chayavim. Brisa number 1. For a minu, says he will ask you a contradiction. And then what happened? The second one came and added siyad, plaster, vikiyad, and embellished the walls, and therefore made it a little bit narrower, making the air more disgusting. Says the brisa, acharoin chayiv. The last one is chayiv, even though the pit was a full 10 tfachim. What do we see? First brisa says that when you increase the size, then he's chayiv. The second brisa says that not. So how do we answer up the stira in the brisa as we turn over to Nun Aleph Amud Beis and explains the Gemara? Lema, shall we say, this is the end of the kasha, lema, shall we say, ha Rebbe, ha Rabbanan? Should we suggest that what's going on over here is machlekes Rebbe and the Rabbanan? The first brisa is going to be discussing the sheet of Rebbe. The Rebbe says we need to take 9 and then the second one takes the 10th, even though the first one is chayiv for nizakin, because it's deep enough to damage at 9 tfachim. But the second one, when he's maslamit la'asara, he's the one that's going to lamaisa be chayiv for misa. That's the sheet as Rebbe. Here's the second brisa that says the achron is chayiv. That's going to be the Rabbanan. That's going to be the Rabbanan. Amar Rav Zvid on the top line of the Aleph Amud Beis. No, ha veha Rabbanan, says Rav Zvid. I'll tell you really both of the Rabbanan. Ad kanu kamir Rabbanan achron chayiv elo echad lo v'kama shir misa. Only when the first one didn't do a shir misa. Even the Rabbanan will be masking if each one. So the first one dug at 10, second one added it to 20 to 30, etc. They're all going to be chayiv. Says Gemara 1 second, v'sayod v'kayod. But the brisa said that they just added plaster, they added embellishments, they didn't actually dig the pit deeper. T'kaveh kama shir misa. Vikotani, acharon chayiv. Why would the acharon be chayiv? The first one did a shir misa. The second one seemingly only added decorations to the pit. Amri haslam shleya by hevel and misa b'achar by hevel and misa. By adding plaster, etc., it made the pit into an entity which had the appropriate hevel, the lack of airspace, the killing air to cause damage. Ikad Amri. We have a second lashon. We're about 10 lines down. The first line is Ik Amar Azved Hava Rabbi. What's the example? There wasn't really enough hevel for neither misa nor damage. Excuse me. And that's the way that we're going to reconcile the prices. Amar Rav with a new din. If someone put a stone which is 1 tefach high at the edge of the pit, and thereby the pit is 9 tefachim, a stone in the top, so now when you're on top of that stone, when you fall down, it's 10 tefachim. Says Rav Abanan the Machlek is Rebbe v'Rabbanan. Says Marshkayach Pshita, obviously. Ma'odatema explains the Gemara. Lamata udahevla didei kotkatale avalamayla to didei kokatal emaloi. Maybe you would think when you added on this extra tevach above the pit, it doesn't contribute to the hevel because it's not in the pit. So emaloi, maybe you're not chayiv. Kamash v'lon that even in such a scenario, you are chayiv. And by Rava, we finish up this part of the share with the shaila of Rava. Tam tefach says Rava, if one fills up the tefach with earth, v'yasilak avanav, and what happens, or one removes the stone at the lip of the pit. You dug it deeper, now you filled it in. You added a stone at the lip, now you took it off. And it completely removes the first actions. Now it's considered its own Yerushalayim, and therefore you're fully liable, says the Gemara. We're going to have to leave this as a shaila. And finally, we're about 15 lines from the Y lines. First one line is Teiku. Continues the Gemara with another sugya within the world of bar. Amar Rabbi Bar Chana Amar Shmuel Bar Marsa Bar Shmoino Mehen Shnei Tfachim Mayim Chayiv. If a bar is 8 tfachim deep, and 2 of the 8 tfachim are filled with water, and then the animal falls in and dies, what is the halacha? Chayiv, ma'itayim kol tevach demaya, ditrei diavashta dami. To every tefach in water is like 2 tefachim on dry land, and therefore an 8 tefach pit is going to be kilu at 16 tefach pit, and therefore you're going to be chayiv. Ibayalu asked the Gemara, Bar Tisho mehen tefach echad ma'yimau. What if I have a 9 tefach pit and the last tefach is filled with water? Do we say it's not so much water, less if there's no hevel to kill the animal? Delma, it's deep, it's hevel. Another shayla, bar shiva man shleisha tvachim ayamahu. It's a lot of hevel because it's 3 tvachim of water. Don't give the amka less hevel. Or maybe it's not so deep, so there's no hevel. Teiku, the Gemara leaves off the shayla. And we continue by minei 6 lines. From the wide lines, another case of bar. What if one person made a pit, another one widened the pit? What do you mean? By widening it, now there's more airspace, which means there's less hevel, which is the constricting air that kills a person. By widening the pit, you make the hazard, the stumbling block, the pit larger, more prone to damage. Let's see. If he died from the hevel, from the foul air, then in this case, the second person made it less, therefore he'll be potter. And he's going to be chayiv. Another lashon was what you just said. Amar Ravashi on the first Y line, if he fell from that side, then you made it the hezik bigger by widening the pit. Havala, then it's considered that you lowered the hevel. And we continue to the second wide line, says the Gemara, Itmar. Bar sha'omkoi kirachava. Rabbi Rav Yosef da'amri tavayu, mishmei d'Rabbi Rachana da'amr mishmei d'Rav Mani. Chad amar lo'ilam yishmei hevel achei rachava yoiser alam amka. And a fundamental shaila, when is there this hevel that can kill a person? One side is this hevel until it's going to be as wide as deep. If it's such a massive area, then there's no hevel. And the other shita says no, there's no hevel until it is more deep than wide. And of course, it's just going to be which way we're going. Is going to be more cases included in considering there's hevel or not. Continues the Gemara, like he saw. The first guy passes by the pit, doesn't cover it. Like he saw, he doesn't cover it. And then the second one passes by and also doesn't cover it. So he said the second one is chayiv. He was the last one to walk by the pit, so he's going to be chayiv. Says Gemara, for what point is the first one? The first guy walks by and leaves open the pit. The second guy walks by and then leaves open and someone damages. At what point is the first one potter? Explains the Gemara, Rabba of Rav Yosef, Dami Tarbayim, Mishmei de Rabbi Rachana, Dam Mishmei de Rav Mani, Chad Omar, Mishaniach Mishtamish. The first opinion, Rabbi of Mishtamish, the first person that walked by the pit and didn't cover it, he's potter. When he leaves, that the second one is using it. When he continues walking, someone else uses the pit, now he is exempt. He says, he's exempt when he hands over the cover to the other person too. Cover it. Says the Gemara, the Kitanayim Machlekes Tanayim. Hamad l'mayim in a bar. If one is drawing water from a bar, and his friend comes, v'amar lo iniach. I know what's going on with the highlights. His friend comes and he says, iniach li, v'ani ed l'mayim. Leave me, and I will draw water for you. Iniach li, v'ani ed l'mayim. Kiv shenichoy. Mishtamesh potter, so you're potter because he's using the bar. Rav Elazar ben Yaakov Aimer, no, Mishayimzer loydalyav. When you hand over the pail for the second one to continue drawing water, that's the moment, or the cover, the cover to cover up the pit, that's the moment you're going to be potter. So as Gemara b'Maika mifli, Rav ben Yaakov savar yesh breira hay medita kamalya v'hay medita kamalya, causes brayers to be retroactively can say that each one is taking his own. Rabbanan savar ein breira, and Rabbanan hold there is no Breira, and Ravina is going to come along in the next year and tell me Azulu Tamaya, the Rav ben Yaakov, the Rabbanan are going according to their own reasoning that we found elsewhere. B'siyata dishmaya.